What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for a extra bonus cool episode of the College Football Uncensored podcast. Little schedule reveal for 2024. We're revealing schedules for future years like it's just nobody's business.
I mean, today was so much fun. Like, I hate to be like such a kid about it, and I argued so much. It was not healthy, but I had so much fun the entire time. What's up? There we go. What's up, Ben Diesel? We're gonna try to keep it pretty quick because we got Dan. Not obviously, but Dan is traveling, so our producer Dan is going to need us. What's up, Willie Gray? To get this over to him, but we wanted to give a reaction to all of it. We got examples, graphics. Your boy was on fire today. I made a graphic for every single team. Pretty sure there were no typos, which is wild as hell.
We'll find out.
But we'll find out. Yeah. First one I post is definitely going to have one. But we appreciate you joining us. Like I said, it was a pretty interesting day because you go over it's all 2024. So it's not the actual schedule. It's just the opponents they're going to play home and away. And there were wait. I just realized Dan Matthews Band. That's different.
Yeah, that's different.
I'm glad I brought that up. Oh, look at you. No, so it was cool. So you have basically every single team you're going to get home and away starting for next season. And this is just for the SEC. It's an 8-game schedule, obviously. Most every team got 4 opponents home, 4 opponents away. Peter Burns, he released broke the news this morning from the SEC that every single current SEC member was going to play either Texas or Oklahoma in year 1. So no matter what, every single team was going to play one of those teams. What's up, Joel Boyd? Get your popcorn. What's up, Oddly Craggy? It's been a minute. So yeah, and there's some there were people that were upset about it because you already have popcorn?
Yeah.
All I have is Celsius and beer.
Oh, well,
what's up, dude?
What's up, bro?
Single life. So, that's me. Why did you have my mic muted? Anyway, so that was one of the stipulations. The SEC, when trying to make up these schedules, they did a system where they tried to make it as fair and balanced as possible, and they took a win-loss percentage from the last 10 years and tried to distribute as much even competition across the league as possible. I think some teams feel like they did. Some people feel like they got the short end of the stick, obviously. And this is something we were talking about like a couple episodes ago. And you guys all kind of thought I was crazy when we were talking about the 8 to 9 game schedule. The 8-game schedule, with what some of these teams have already started putting in place on their schedule in non-conference games, it just got way more difficult. You talk about there were 4 teams that have had at least 2 Power 5 games scheduled for every year over the next 5 to 10 seasons. It was Georgia, Bama, South Carolina, and Florida. Florida has like a murderer's row, it seems like. They're one of only 5, or I think they're like the 5th or 3rd team since like 2014 that's going to play 3 different Power 5 opponents in their non-con schedule. So 11 of their 12 games will be Power 5. You also have LSU, who has 2 games coming up in 2024 against USC and UCLA for that season. So the schedules are very difficult. Let's get into it.
Do you want to start? You want to go team by team? So a couple of things here. Home and away designations were made so that no school would travel to the same location in 2024 as they did in 2023.
Right.
So that's pretty standard across the board. But opponents were determined based on 2 factors: traditional rivalries and balance of schedule. So,
bro, they had this on SEC Network real quick. They were like, we had to make sure we preserve the in-state rivalries. They were like, Bama Auburn, and they're doing that thing where they slide across to each like tablet, and it's like, or tab, and it's like Bama Auburn, Ole Miss Mississippi State, Tennessee Vandy. We're like, one of those things is unlike the other, but okay.
No. Balance of schedule strength was based on each school's conference winning percentage since 2012.
Right.
So I think that's fair. You get, a good track record of what they've been over the last decade. Each school's schedule will include 4 opponents from the top 8 winning percentages and 4 opponents from the second 8 winning percentages. So that's how they balance it out as well.
Love that.
And then it may not be possible to avoid schools playing at the same location in back-to-back years in the first year. Was kind of a side note there. But this is exciting.
2025 is going to be a little bit different when they this is only a 1 year. This is a stopgap, right? All right, right off the bat, what pissed me off the most was people leaking the schedules. It started happening last night. It gave so much fodder. The one that was talked about most, let's just get into it, and that is the Georgia Bulldogs. We talk about them enough on this show. Here is their schedule, and I did not do a good job of making sure we would also be in this picture.
How to scoot over?
It's even worse. Okay. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I tried my best.
All right, just leave it up there. Whatever. They don't need to see our faces.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is what Georgia's schedule is. The two big ones that stand out, you have a road game at Alabama. You have a road game at Texas. What's weird about this is the fact that Georgia did not really get they were supposed to play Oklahoma, right? And Bama is playing Texas, obviously, this year. The things that stand out the most to me, it's not an easy schedule, especially when you add in the fact they're playing Clemson to start the season on the road or away from home, at least. I mean, Ole Miss, they haven't been there since 2016. Bama and Texas, you technically only get 3 Power 5 games at home, or 3, because you have these are the 3 you get: Auburn, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. Because Florida's a neutral site.
Take this off the screen real fast. I'm going to try something.
Okay. I tried my best. That's significantly better. Yeah, it's better.
All right. So here it is.
Good though, right?
It looks great. You spelled Ole Miss wrong, though.
What? Oh, my God.
I'm just kidding.
So this is the main takeaway that everyone's had, right? This is kind of, I mean, it's a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule.
Super tough. Depending on how fast Auburn turns it around, too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And like, I don't think Florida is going to be, I mean, you look at that in the home schedule, Florida is probably your third easiest, even though it's a neutral site game. But looking at all of them, I think the main issue was that from Georgia fans, and you can see it from both sides, Georgia fans were upset that it's the third year in a row or however many years in a row, you don't get a marquee game at home, right? Like you don't get you're not going to have a night game maybe, and you're not going to have a marquee game at home. Now, Auburn, Tennessee, that arguably feels like it's
it feels like a marquee game.
It was the game of the year this year. It was literally 1 versus 1, considering because one of them was ranked number 1 in the playoff rankings, the other one was ranked number 1 in the AP poll. We're 2 years away. Maybe one of these teams falls off the map. I don't see that happening with the way they're recruiting. But going to Bama, to Ole Miss, and to Texas. Now, if you're not a Georgia fan, why this is interesting? Kirby Smart, in his first 7 years, I'm fully aware of what's happened the last 2 years. But in his first 7 years total, he has had 4 losses in the SEC in conference road games. 4 total, right? Now, the issue with that is that all 4 have come to SEC West opponents, and they've all come by an average of 22.8 points per game. Fully understand that was 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020. They're an even better program now than they were then. 2016 was year 1.
Right.
It doesn't change the fact that this is not difficult, or this is not like an easy schedule. And you got to go on the road. You finally have to step foot in the same
Dude, their away schedule is very difficult.
Yeah.
Alabama and Texas to start. So Arch will likely be the QB at that point. They will have all of Sark's classes that are now upperclassmen. And, of course, Bama's always going to be tough. And then, Lane Kiffin's putting together a squad over at Ole Miss. And Kentucky, that's on the road. That's at least a little bit tougher. Kroger Field, you don't just walk in there and come out with a victory. All right.
Yeah. Anyways, the other main takeaway that's interesting from this, it's the 88th straight year they don't go to Texas A&M, and A&M is somehow going back to Florida, which is just, I don't get it. I don't think it matters. The schedule's difficult enough. It's just a very weird thing.
It is. Let's pop over to Florida.
That old school logo. Okay.
I love that. I like that logo a lot.
Yeah.
So they have home games against Kentucky, Ole Miss, LSU, A&M. Where would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, home schedule? How difficult do you think that is? Thinking next year,
I think this is. I don't see how Billy Napier survives 3 years here. I said this a couple weeks ago. I don't know who did the scheduling, because if you look at their schedule in the non-con, they have UCF and Miami at home, and then a road game at FSU. Like, my God, like that is on top of all this.
Yeah. Well, and then
That
the
is-
last we didn't even talk about with Georgia, they've got Clemson next year
Yeah.
to tack on all that. So,
Right.
So, LSU will be replacing Jaden Daniels at that point, but presuming it's Nussmeier, he's supposed to be pretty good. A&M, we'll see. Depends on do you think that it's a legitimate conversation to say that if A&M has the same type of season they had last year, that Jimbo gets fired?
So it'll be, if it happens after 2024, is that what you're saying?
No, this year, if Texas A&M has they miss another bowl.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But you know what the buyout is before December 1st, or before January 1st? It's $77 million or $76 million.
Price of oil is hurting these days.
I know you love it. I know
away schedule. So somehow Texas gets both Florida and Georgia at home. By the way, how cool is this, man? Like Georgia and Florida going into Austin. That's such a cool that's like a conference game now.
I just don't feel that. I don't feel the same way about this conference as other people do. I'm just gonna admit it. I don't think it's good. Listen. I said this a while back, and you can take it however you want. I like winning. I like winning games. That's what I like to watch. I've said this before. It's almost fair or more fun to be a Bama fan before Saban, because every game mattered, and you don't really get that anymore. Georgia's starting to experience it now, but really the way the playoff has kind of controlled everything, everyone's starting to experience that. Everyone thinks this is all going to be fun and games, and Texas isn't going to be a tough place, and everything's going to stay status quo from whatever happened last year or whenever your team was at their best. It's going to be real fun until you got to go to Norman, or you got to go to Austin, or one of them comes to your place, and you're a 7 to 10 point favorite, and you get your ass kicked. And then because everyone just assumes, oh, a 2-loss SEC team's going to get in. And we don't know that. We don't know
that. Did you see the post? I just liked the post, and I said, dude, this post is so sick.
We're just not even.
All right.
Go to the next one.
All right. Kentucky. Home games against Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Auburn, and Georgia. Now, this, I feel like, is somewhat manageable for Kentucky, depending on what they do at quarterback after Devin Leary leaves. Georgia, obviously, not withstanding. I mean, Vandy, South Carolina, Auburn, I feel like is about as good a home schedule as you could ask for.
Yeah.
Florida on the road. Ole Miss on the road, Texas on the road. Another home game for Texas. Jeez. And Tennessee.
Let's keep going. We got to see the Texas ones too. We'll kind of, no offense, I know we got Maggie here who's a big Mizzou fan. We got to probably
hey, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U. Look at this.
This is the first time Oklahoma showed up.
Oklahoma, Auburn. I'm sure Auburn. I feel like Auburn's gone to Mizzou, right? Am I crazy? They haven't.
What you that game last year when the dude fumbled in the end zone? Was that at Mizzou?
No, it was at home against Auburn. They did everything they could to get rid of that game. A&M, you've owned Arkansas. I think they're 7-2 or something like that. In those games, you got, Bama on the road, A&M on the road. Not the easiest. Okay, go to the next one.
South Carolina.
Somebody says in the comments here, there won't be a year when there won't be at least 3 SEC teams in the playoffs in a 12-team format. And again, This is all assumption based, but like with these schedules, you're talking about the top 2 teams go play in the SEC championship game. I don't like so imagine going through these fucking gauntlets of schedules on top of the other teams you've already brought in that you're going to play, and then going to play the SEC championship because you need an automatic qualifier, right? And say you lose the SEC championship, right? Say it's like an upset. Now you've played your 13th game and you got to play in round 1 of the playoff, and you have a potential 16-game season where you that's I just don't think that 3 teams in the SEC with this many teams is not going to it's not as much as you think it is in my opinion.
I think it's going to be pretty easily 3 teams in the playoffs every time. So I'm gonna disagree. That's all I'll say. On the road in Norman and on the road in Tuscaloosa. So they get a little bit of a reprieve with Vandy. And again, you don't just walk into Kroger Field, although our resident Florida fan here in the chat does say you do, in fact, walk into Kroger and grab whatever you want. Although I wouldn't say the Gators have necessarily done that recently.
I think he means like Kroger in general.
Okay, that's fair.
Now this one's interesting.
So Tennessee, home schedule of Alabama Crimson Tide, the Florida Gators, Kentucky, Mississippi State. On its surface, manageable. Outside of Alabama, obviously, is a tough one. Then they go on the road to, I don't even have a joke. They go to Vanderbilt, as well as Arkansas, and then they go to Norman and to Athens.
Pretty lackluster schedule, in my opinion. You pick up Arkansas, Oklahoma, and I guess Mississippi State. Arkansas used to be their one of their cross division rivals. It was a fun game every year. Pepper, shut up. It's damn dog.
Unnecessary.
I know that was too much. Love you, Pepper. But Bama at home. I think this is like a very manageable schedule. All right, and let's go to the West and Texas.
Sure, you don't want to come to Vandy.
We're probably good on Vandy.
Look at that home schedule for Vandy.
It's so awful. Look at, I mean, now, they're all-time 500 against Auburn. I think they might be winning that series.
That's incredible. God. Well, they were just like, you know what, guys? Very well done on the graphics, by the way.
Thank you. Right? I mean, it's pretty fun.
All right, let's start with Bama here in the West, hosting Auburn next year, as well as Georgia. And they've got Missouri and South Carolina to round out the home schedule. And then they go on the road to Norman and Baton Rouge, as well as Tennessee, and then Vanderbilt. That is a very tough road schedule.
You also get Wisconsin on the road.
Bama doesn't normally schedule that way, right?
I hate what you're doing because I know you're just trying to piss me off. Fuck you, Tyler. No, I was pretty happy with this. Everyone talked about how Saban was bitching about the 3 opponents they got, which was LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee, and they got all 3 of them. And you add Georgia and Oklahoma. I would rather play Oklahoma than Texas. Georgia being there is not my favorite. I will say that. I do not like that. So because they are going to lose that game.
Man, you're already just resigned. This game's not even a year away. And it's more than a year away, I should say. All right, Auburn. They host Oklahoma in Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. And then on the road, they have Kentucky, Bama, Missouri, and Georgia. So away games in Tuscaloosa and Athens. That sucks. Again, can't just go into Kroger Field. And Mizzou.
Arguably one of the easier schedules we saw. I think this is perfect in year 2 for Freeze. This is a great setup.
You had 2 guaranteed losses on the road.
You don't. Well, on the road at Bama is different.
Well, true. Right. In Athens.
But if you look at the teams they could have got, they didn't get Tennessee. They've really they've owned A&M more away from home than at home necessarily. Tell me a team they have less talent than, or you think will have less talent than in 2 years? Because Oklahoma, again, Oklahoma is the better draw
right now. But that'll be year 3 of Venables. I think he'll have his defense in place. I don't know. I think that OU will have more talent than Auburn. I think A&M will have more talent. Georgia and Alabama obviously will as well.
Okay. I mean, you get
Essentially,
A&M and OU at home though, so it's not. And if you're an Auburn fan, it's not that long ago that you saw them play Bama and Georgia on the road in the same year. All right, next one.
Arkansas. This is a tough little home. That's a tough little home schedule. Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, and so many of these could be different in 2 years, especially with the transfer portal. Like Auburn could be a totally different. Like then you could look at them and they'd be like, wow, and they got to go on the road to Auburn. Right now, we're looking at it and saying, well, they just fired their coach because they suck so bad. So it's hard to know what they're going to be in 2024.
This is not a very manageable schedule.
No, it's not manageable. I will say that.
Pretty tough. I felt bad for Arkansas this one. They kind of got hosed.
Yeah, they did. LSU plays host to Alabama and Ole Miss, as well as Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. They go on the road to Texas A&M, South Carolina, Florida, and Arkansas. This isn't that bad of a schedule for them, I feel like.
I don't remember the last time they went to South Carolina, and I'm sure I'm wrong about this. I know they went in 2008, but that'll be kind of fun, right? I'm sure, and I'm sure they've done it. They've gone more recently. Love the fact they get Arkansas still. Florida keeping that intact is awesome, and I also like the A&M. I think this is a fun schedule that I thought they did a good job with, and I thought they did the right thing by not giving them Texas too.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, who's next here? Ole Miss. Ole Miss has Kentucky, Mississippi State, Georgia, and Oklahoma at home. And then they go on the road to Gainesville, Baton Rouge, Arkansas, and Columbia, South Carolina. You switched up the logos on this one.
I know, right? I had fun with this. I will say that. I was very excited. Herman Brown, I'm in Columbia, my man. I am living in Columbia now. We will have to get beer soon. So Ole Miss, interesting that they get Georgia and Oklahoma at home.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's very tough, but you get them at home at least. LSU on the road. You saw that last year.
Going to the swamp, tough to know what Florida's going to be at that point.
But if you remember the last time they went there was 2016 or 2015 when they had their season in front of them. I think it was 2015. It might have been 2016 when they had their season in front of them where they could win the SEC West. They'd beaten Bama, and they got like
stomped. That was Swag Kelly?
Yeah, they got beat like 38-10 or 31-10 or something crazy.
Yeah, that's a tough road schedule, no doubt. Mississippi State. Oh my God, that away schedule. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, Mississippi State goes on the road to Athens, to Oxford, to Austin, and to Knoxville. That's the toughest, I think, away schedule we may have seen. And Mississippi State, poor Mississippi State, man. That's not good.
Yeah. And you get
again, and the Ole Miss, that's the rival, so you never know what could happen. But the other three, damn, that's a tough look.
Yeah. I don't
at home, they get A&M, Florida, Arkansas, and Missouri. Mm-hmm. So, somewhat manageable. I mean, I'll be interested to know what A&M is in 2024, to be honest. Speaking of A&M, Arkansas, Missouri, LSU, Texas at home. So glad they're doing the Texas A&M thing.
That's the best part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't need to yell. That's the best part of this entire thing. Georgia at Texas, A&M in Texas. They did the right thing by making Texas go to A&M. I thought that was a good move by the SEC. Now, here's the thing. If you're an A&M fan, this is what a lot of A&M fans are saying today. You don't get Bama. You don't get Georgia. I see what they have at home, right? They've owned Carolina, right? Like, obviously not last year, but like they've won that game every single year, basically. I think they're better than Mississippi State. I don't know what's going to be here. I think they'll be better than Florida. It is on the road. It's the fifth time they're playing Florida since they've joined the league in 2012. And they've only played Georgia once, which is still very odd. But we're also going to most likely get into a situation where they go to 9 games and they're alternating every other year. So you're going to play every other team. But this is the easiest path A&M has had to Atlanta since they've been in the league.
Yeah, that's a very manageable schedule. I mean, yeah, well, it just depends. I mean, look, they were awful last year. Is the Petrino thing going to work? I mean, who knows?
Right.
Texas takes on Florida and Georgia at home, as well as Mississippi State and Kentucky. And their away schedule is Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. So I love that Texas was playing both OU and A&M. That's great.
Yeah, you love it for Texas way more than you love it for Oklahoma, and you're about to see why. But this is a neutral site game with OU that counts as an away game. So you know what that means. Oklahoma is going to count that as one of their home games. Now go to the next slide. Mother of God.
It's toughie.
That is awful.
That's a toughie. Texas, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina at home, or Texas neutral site. Auburn, Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri on the road. Woo, boy. The old Big 12 rivalry with the Missouri, Oklahoma.
Tebow, yeah, what do you call it? A redo of the 2007 Big 12 championship, probably a couple other ones too. Tebow said it on the show earlier. He said Oklahoma got like welcome to the SEC with a hug and a spanking at the same time, which is how I want all of my first dates to go on from now on. Just a heads up. But also, that is awful. I mean, that is the home schedule is not as bad. It's interesting. You get Carolina with Shane Beamer, those ties going back.
What do you mean the home schedule is not as bad
as the
Alabama,
away,
Texas, Tennessee?
At least you get them at home. I mean, if those games were on the road, maybe that's awful. I mean, that's awful. I don't know what they have in the non-con, but Jesus. All right, so those are all of the schedules.
What's your outside of Auburn, Georgia, which I know is probably not one of your least favorite games? What is one of your favorite games?
So Texas and Texas A&M is I think going to be awesome. Georgia, Texas is going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about what I mean. OU and Tennessee, I think, could be fun, especially with the Heupel ties, right? Yeah. Tennessee going on the road. I mean, because like it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think in the first 2-3 years when it's still like a novelty to go to these stadiums. Yeah. But the ones that stood out most,
Bama OU, that's pretty cool. I mean, as like a traditional
since 2002.
Yeah, I mean, those are two very traditional. They don't mess with the jerseys. Like that's just a cool matchup. I mean, I think Bama is a lot better than Oklahoma, but it's still a cool matchup, and it's tough to play in Norman. So, Auburn OU is pretty cool. Like that's a cool matchup.
Yeah, I think that like for me, I'm still excited about some of the more traditional matchups that involve Texas. And then from a powerhouse standpoint, like Texas and Georgia is great for football. That is just a great game for college football. Georgia at Bama is super interesting because you're talking about having the two teams that are expected to win every year in their division on the schedule in the regular season. So with what you also have to do, and with Georgia going out to Texas, which I know a lot of their fans think is not going to be that difficult, or Bama going out to Norman, that could essentially be a game that eliminates someone from the SEC championship, or at least give somebody like you're going to have your back against the wall the rest of the season.
Right.
Well, do you see anybody else going 12-0?
12-0?
Yeah.
Dude, no, because the best teams, I mean, have the hardest schedule.
Right.
So, no, I don't think anyone gets through unscathed now at this point.
Yeah. So,
I love it. Well, let us know what you guys think about the schedule. Let us know your favorite game. Maybe a game that you'll pick one game. Like I'd love to pick one game and just go to it. Whether it's Georgia, Texas, something like that. Have a little more time to do that this fall, Chris. I don't know if you knew that, but
I do. And I'm excited. So I always have time for it.
So yeah, let us know at CFB_uncensored at Sat Down South. Thank you guys for tuning in on the live. Again, we were going to go back to the live shows typically in the fall. For the rest of the offseason, we will be going just recording just me and Chris, nobody in the comments. And I hope you guys liked the one we had on Monday. Chris was like not distracted by the comments, so it ran very smoothly.
Yeah, it was great.
Looking good with the shape.
Guys. We'll see you guys on Monday, and that'll be the schedule moving forward. We'll just be doing one a week until the season, trying to hone in on that. So should be fun. We appreciate you guys as always. That's all.
That's it.